and play on 2nd and 10. That's his youth right there.
Tagovailoa trying to make up for it. Fires to the end zone. Touchdown! Alabama wins!
Well, I will be filming today my predictions for 2 of the 4 first-round college football playoff games for the 2025 season. So starting with James Madison at Oregon. So this is probably going to be the most boring playoff game of this season because even Tulane is better than James Madison, I believe. And Ole Miss and Oregon are about even, it appears. And Oregon, they've got as good of a roster as anybody in college football. Their roster is so good that their second string would be starting at James Madison. And the lines of scrimmage alone are going to be too much of a mismatch for James Madison to have any chance. Because even though James Madison ranks 5th in the country at rushing, averaging 245.8 yards rushing per game, and they're one of the best at stopping the run, only giving up 76.2 yards rushing per game. The Sun Belt is nothing compared to Oregon. James Madison probably would not even make a bowl game if they were in the SEC. They might be one of the worst teams like Arkansas or Kentucky, but that would probably be about it. And even if they were in the ACC, they'd probably be like a 6-6 team. And UCLA has just hired James Madison's head coach. Bob Chesney is his name, but he is going to stay with them through the college football playoff. And I actually think that was a decent hire for UCLA. But I know you may be thinking that Kirk Cignetti took a lot of his players from James Madison with him to Indiana and made the college football playoff in his first year. So James Madison would have a chance in this game. But while he may be a good coach, he's not Kirk Cignetti. There's only one Kirk Cignetti. No other coach in the country, I don't think, could have done what Cignetti has done at Indiana in this short amount of time. And even that Indiana team had some Power 4 players on it. But Oregon's roster doesn't really have any weaknesses. The secondary's been elite, and the front seven has been good, and offensive line has been elite. And they've got one of the deepest running back rooms in college football. They've got at least 4 running backs that would start on most Power 4 teams. And Dante Moore, their quarterback, he does have a chance to get drafted in the first round. And they've got maybe the second best tight end in college football this season, Kenyon Sadiq.
With 2:20 to go, third quarter. Moore fires, and Kenyon Sadiq.
Because there aren't a lot of great tight ends this season. But the one thing that I think is missing with Oregon this year that they had in all of the years past under Dan Lanning is an elite playmaker at wide receiver. Now, it's not that they don't have talent at wide receiver. They're loaded with talent at wide receiver. They've probably got more talent at wide receiver than everybody in college football except Ohio State. But they don't have like a Tez Johnson. DeCorian Moore has been the closest to that for them this season, but he's missed the last 4 games with an injury, and he's listed as being out for this game. But I saw he is hoping to be able to play in the next playoff game when they will actually need him. But I think this is going to be a complete domination by Oregon from start to finish. I don't think James Madison even has a chance of making this competitive at all. I've got Oregon getting the win by a score of 45-7. So now Tulane at Ole Miss. So Tulane and Ole Miss, even though they're both going through the same thing with their coach leaving for another job, unlike Kiffin, Sumrall is staying with Tulane for the college football playoff. And this does seem weird that Sumrall is going to coach and Kiffin isn't. Because I'm not saying this because I'm an Ole Miss fan. I'm just being honest. Tulane has no chance of winning this game. And I actually like Sumrall. I think he's a great coach, and I think he's going to have a lot more success at Florida than Billy Napier did. And I actually think he's their best hire since Urban Meyer. But if you watch the regular season game between Ole Miss and Tulane like I did, you know Tulane has no chance in this game because it was a complete domination on both sides of the ball by Ole Miss. The Ole Miss defense in that game probably played their best of the season because Tulane is actually a decent team, even though they're a group of five. If they were in the ACC, I think they might be 8-4 because they beat the ACC champions. And Tulane, I think, would be a decent addition in the future for a Power Four conference. And Tulane quarterback Jake Retzloff is a special player that I think has a chance of playing on Sundays. He's thrown for 2,862 yards this season, which is good, and he's only thrown 14 touchdown passes, but his completion percentage of 62.4% is solid, and his 8 yards per throw average is pretty good. But he's ran for 16 touchdowns and has run for 610 yards on 118 carries and averages 5.2 yards per carry. But Ole Miss completely shut him down. He in that game was 5 of 17 for 56 yards. And he had one big run in that game of 30 yards, but other than that, he didn't do much running either. He was so bad in that game that he got benched in it. And Trinidad Chambliss is a better quarterback than Jake Retzloff is because he can run like Retzloff can, and he's a better passer than Retzloff is. Chambliss, I have no doubt, is going to play on Sundays. He was the SEC newcomer of the year, and he completely deserves that award. I actually think if Chambliss had been Ole Miss's starting quarterback at the beginning of the season, that he probably would have won the Heisman Trophy, and he pretty much did whatever he wanted in the first meeting with Tulane. He had 419 yards of total offense, and I think he's going to have a similar game against them this time with Charlie Weiss, the offensive coordinator, coming back to Ole Miss to call plays. And now that Kiffin is gone, maybe he'll give Daquan Wright, the tight end, the ball some more. Because I don't know if it was Kiffin or Weiss, but it seemed like they had something personal against Daquan Wright because Daquan Wright, I think, is the third best tight end in college football this season, and he was only thrown to 2 or 3 times a game, and he needs to get the ball a lot more than that, especially after this game when they play Georgia again. And I know you may be thinking that because Tulane beat Southern Cal in a New Year's Six ball a few years ago, that they would have a chance in this game. But this Tulane team is not as good as that one was. And something to know about that was that Tulane team had already beaten Kansas State, who was the Big 12 champion that year. And that Southern Cal team was not as good as this Ole Miss team is. They had the offense of this Ole Miss team, but they didn't have anywhere near the defense that this Ole Miss team has. And Kaiwan Lacey, I think he's going to have another 100+ yard running game.
You can probably get a piece of it. Breaking free is Lacey. Touchdown.
And Tulane is a physical team, but when they played Ole Miss the first time, the talent difference at the line of scrimmage was obvious, and Ole Miss is going to push them around again. Now, I don't think the Ole Miss defense will play quite as well as they did in the first meeting, but I do think that they will slow down Jake Retzloff. And the offense, I think, will have close to as good of a game as they did in the first meeting. And I think Ole Miss will run for over 200 yards in this game. And I think this one might be close at halftime, but in the second half, Ole Miss will pull away and win big. I've got Ole Miss getting the win 41-20 over Tulane. So that'll be it with this video. Please subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon.